Tell me what you see.
This meeting is being recorded.
Nice.
All
Okay.
right, we're gonna
So,
start.
by the way, the record was under more.
Okay,
Yeah. Oops.
perfect.
Well, it started.
All
So
right,
it'll record on
perfect.
my machine, and then I'll drop it somewhere, and you can pick it up after.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, welcome everyone to another delicious, nutritious adventure. This event is in collaboration with Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. My name is Carrie Bruno. I am a pharmacist, a PBNM board member, and your host for tonight's event. Plant-Based Nutrition Movement is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to educate, inspire, and support those moving towards an evidence-based, whole, minimally processed, plant-based way of eating as a way to improve health and quality of life at all ages. Anyone interested in health and wellness and is welcome to attend any of these events. Whether you've never heard about plant-based eating or you've been curious about trying it or you've been eating this way for years, we're all here to learn more and to help each other along the way. These events are held monthly on the third Tuesday of the month, and this program will be recorded and available for future viewing or sharing on the PBNM YouTube channel. And if you'd like more information about this group, PBNM, and future events, or would like to become a member and receive our monthly newsletters, go to pbnm.org. And tonight of our event is microgreens. You may have already guessed that based on our speaker's background. Our guest speaker tonight is Steve Leinweber, and he'll be sharing everything you'd ever want to know about microgreens. Steve is the owner of Mine Microgreens, a hyper-local service offering fresh, nutrient-rich microgreens to Chicago's southwest neighborhoods and suburbs. He raises a wide variety of microgreen varieties and offers both delivery and pickup services in order to help you easily incorporate microgreens into your diet. And not only will Steve be sharing a wealth of information, Janet, another one of my fellow PBNM board members, will also be sharing microgreen nutrition information and maybe some recipes with us. So after Steve and Janet share their information, we'll leave the remainder of the time for questions. Everyone except the speakers will be muted throughout the presentation, and we ask that everyone remain muted to avoid interruptions and background noise. However, please feel free to use the chat box at any time throughout the presentation for any questions you may have. If time allows during the certain portions of the presentation, we'll sprinkle in some of the questions from the chat. So feel free to submit them as you have them. And without further ado, we'll get the event started. Welcome both Steve and Janet. And Steve, would you like to go ahead and get us started by maybe sharing a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in microgreens?
Sure thing. First off, thank you everybody for taking time out of your evening to come here and hear us talk about microgreens. It's a relatively new passion for me. I think I've been doing this for about 4 years and 3 years, not professionally. It's a small business. I'm an IT guy who got into growing plants, the little microgreens, and kind of my story. A lot of things started a few years ago when we were kind of locked inside and we couldn't go anywhere. And I suddenly started to be able to work from home and had maybe 4 hours to my day added on. And as IT people are a bit curious about things and kind of looking at the world and hearing that the supply chain might be disrupted and you better get healthy. I started looking at options for storable food. And I think in line with this group, I was seeing that a lot of the food out there is highly processed. And the storable food had lots of sodium, a lot of calories, a lot of sodium, a lot of processing. And I was looking for something a little more nutritional and dive down this rabbit hole of seeds being the most healthy storable food options. So I started growing a tray of microgreens and kind of tell people jokingly, microgreens are like cats. You start growing one tray and next thing you know, you got up 2, 3. And just start growing at different varieties of microgreens. And the neighbors found out, my sister-in-laws found out, and they say you really should get out there, and I think a lot more people would be interested. So I went to a farmer's market, and 3 years later, I'm at three farmers markets and doing an online delivery service through Mine Microgreens.
Nice.
That's an amazing story.
Well, we would like to hear much more about, your business and microgreens in general.
Mhm.
So can you tell us, I guess, some information about microgreens, maybe what they are and
Mhm.
some of the different varieties that you grow?
Okay, great. So I tell people I've kind of become like Johnny Microgreen seed instead of apple seed. And I tell this story quite a bit about what is a microgreen. And I say it's between a seed and a baby green in terms of the plant's life cycle. So if you think of a seed, you water the seed, it germinates and it sprouts. And microgreens are different than sprouts because they enter another stage of their life and they start to undergo some photosynthesis, and that energizes the plant and creates a lot of nutrient, condensed nutrient and flavor in the plant. And a microgreen is a microgreen when you start to see the first true leaf form. For most varieties, speckled pea is a little different, but for the most part, you see a little tiny leaf pop out between the two cotyledon, and cotyledon are the first two pilot leaves or seed leaves. And that's the first adult leaf on the plant that's showing. At that point, it's a microgreen. And if you harvest it at that point, if you put it into food, you cut it and throw it on a salad or on a sandwich, it's a very nutrient dense, healthy plant. It takes about 2 weeks for most crops to become a microgreen. And then if you let it go a little further, a few days, even 4 days, 5 days, you really start to move towards the baby green stage, and that nutrient in the plant starts to disperse into the root system and go into the true leaf, and the texture of the plant changes and the distribution of nutrients changes. But microgreens is that sweet spot. When you harvest them, you can eat some really good food. We do broccoli, radish, and wasabi mustard, arugula, and we combine those into something called a spicy salad mix. I also grow and sell cantaloupe, beets, speckled pea, cilantro is delicious. And yeah, every week we kind of look at what else we might grow. I've got some stuff. I have basil, which takes a little bit, and oregano is amazing. But those are they're in my little project area. I'm learning how to grow those, and I want to be efficient at it and get the best product. So, but those are in my kind of in a holding pattern. I've got some trays germinating downstairs right now.
Perfect. Nice. So I guess one question that I've got, I feel like I've grown both of them at home, microgreens, and I've done some sprouting. So for those who might not be as familiar with either one, what is the difference between microgreens and, say, sprouts? Or are they the same?
They're different. So sprouts, you eat the whole plant. Microgreens, you cut above the soil line, right? The plant has gone through some photosynthesis at that point, and when it's a microgreen, sprouts not so much. It's pre-photosynthesis for the most part, and the whole process of undergoing some photosynthesis changes the plant a bit. There's different kinds of nutrients. The plant has had a little more time to soak up some micro and macronutrients from the medium. I use something called ocean solution, which adds additional nutrients to the plants. So they're a little more mature, not by much, but enough that it does change things. And there's a little bit of an immune system that the plant gets at the microgreen stage as well, whereas sprouts, the immune system on the plant hasn't really developed. And there's been some stuff in the past where with sprouts, you got to be careful. They're prone to pathogen, whereas microgreen, not so much. You still need to be careful with that. When you grow, you have to have a lot of ventilation and, make sure that your humidity is right. But they're a little safer, healthier, in my opinion.
Okay. So for what I guess if somebody wanted to grow them at home,
Mhm.
where would you recommend that they start?
There are two varieties that are easiest, and I started with broccoli.
Okay.
And broccoli has a like the best rap in the microgreen world because it does contain a phytochemical called sulforaphane, and it's very anti-inflammatory and it's super healthy for you. And when you hear about microgreens, you'll often hear that them boast that microgreens can contain up to 40 times more nutrients than the adult variety, and that's true for broccoli. That 40 times more isn't true for every variety of microgreen, but broccoli it is. Radish is also very easy to grow. It's got a little more kick to it. So if you like a little spice, it doesn't take as long to grow radish. There, and so I would say that broccoli and radish are a great way to start. And arugula is fun, and wasabi mustard. Those are the four I started with. I mean, the first one was broccoli, and then
I was gonna say flavor wise, broccoli might be a good one to start with because I feel like most people have had broccoli, but like wasabi and I guess if you like radish, I don't really particularly like radish, so I don't know if I would start with those, but broccoli is definitely a familiar taste, which is
right,
helpful. You at
and
least kind of know what you're getting.
right, and the
Yeah.
healthiest probably in terms of overall the anti-inflammation. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm an IT guy. I fix computers, not people. But as a user of a human body, I have some user experience. um, Inflammation, I'm 52. I know about inflammation. And that's the thing that, a lot of diseases, at least my doctors tell me that inflammation is how a lot of stuff starts. So if you can keep that under wraps, you might be okay for a while.
Exactly. And I mean, I had recently heard this described once. Inflammation isn't always a bad thing,
Mhm.
but in excess it is. So the more anti-inflammatory foods you can add to your diet is a good thing. And microgreens is a great way to do that.
I see a
So
question in the chat. Are broccoli sprouting seeds the same as broccoli microgreen seeds? For the most part, yes, because it's important. The seed itself is the same, right? It's the plant. It's the same seed from the same plant. However, you want to be careful. You don't want to use any broccoli seed because broccoli seed that's meant to grow full term can be and often is sprayed with fertilizer and perhaps pesticides. You don't want to use those. You do want to use microgreen or broccoli sprouting seeds. They would be the same in the sense that they don't have that extra addition to it. When you're eating a plant that young, you're going to be eating a concentration of whatever's on the seed, in the soil, or the water. So you want to, but they are the same, but do not use uh, agricultural like bulk seed that you buy for growing the plant all the way to the adult. It's usually going to be sprayed with something.
nice to know.
Good to know. And I would probably recommend organic seeds, correct? We talked about pesticides and things. When I buy my seeds, I prefer getting the organic
Mhm.
sprouting or microgreen seeds.
A great place to obtain your seeds, by the way, is True Leaf Market. I don't get any promotional credit for this. It's what I use. And they do label their seeds as such, organic, heirloom, microgreen grade. And then additionally, you can buy stuff for your backyard if you're going to grow it. But they label it clearly, and I trust them as a good source. Great germination rates too. So the thing with seeds is that there can be quality of seeds. So you want to get something at minimum like 93%, maybe 90% germination. Sometimes you can buy seeds from even True Leaf, and they're like 85, 83% germination rate. That's not it's not the best way to start because not all your seeds will germinate. And if that happens, you're going to have a chance for, moisture and mold to collect in your tray, and you never want to see that. So if all of your seeds, the majority of your seeds are sprouting and, growing, tall together, it's going to be a better experience for you. I hope that answers the question about the seeds.
Yeah. How long did it take you once you got that idea in your head that you were going to maybe look into starting sprouting? Yeah, probably ordered some kits. And
Yeah.
you started with some lights and set up a place in your basement or your house.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did it take you to experiment before you decided, hey, maybe some other people, maybe I should do this and get paid for it?
Well, the getting paid for it part didn't come till later, right?
Okay.
So when you start something, for me, it's data collection time, right? How do I do this? Who has the information that I need? Again, beginning of the pandemic, YouTube, I was just watching a lot of stuff. There's a gentleman named Donnie Greens on YouTube. If you can check him out, he is amazing in that he has a business. He's actually, I didn't think about it at the time. Maybe he planted a seed, no pun intended, but he went to farmers markets and he had a subscription service, and so that's pretty cool, but he also did these YouTube videos on how to grow. And so if you're looking at how to grow seeds, I'd say that you can save some time and check out Donnie Greens. Another YouTube channel that I love is On the Grow. It's a couple, man and woman. I think they're married. I don't know. They don't go into that too much, but very cute couple. And they have a business. They actually go around and they have this trailer and they grow all their microgreens in that. And it's like a hitch, and they travel and then they do their videos. And the lady's name's Mandy. She does these instructional videos on YouTube on how to grow broccoli and how to grow radish and how to do it with coconut coir as a medium, how to do it with soil, how to grow it on a jute mat. So Donnie Greens, On the Grow. I was watching a lot of this, and that's where I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to True Leaf Market. I'm going to grab some seeds. I'm going to go to a place called Bootstrap Farmer. They have microgreen growing trays and lights and pretty much everything you're going to need. And yeah. And so it took me about 2 weeks to kind of research things, and then about 4 days to get my supplies. And then, and it was easy. It's kind of interesting. There was like, as an IT guy, I didn't think that it would be easy for me, but I think I might have a green thumb. My grandparents and my great grandparents were farmers, and my dad, you can't get him out of the garden, and it's all on his side. And my sisters they have a green thumb, and I never tried anything to grow anything. And then I was like, cool. And at first, everyone kind of laughed. They said, "What are you doing? Like a chia pet?" Like, like, no, this is my apocalypse survival plan. We're gonna have food. We're gonna be healthy. And so yeah, it took a couple of weeks to grow the tray. So like about a month after thinking about it, I had a tray of broccoli microgreens, and we ate them, and it was good. And then 2 weeks later, I got some radish seeds, and then like another 2 weeks after that, I had radish and broccoli. And then I tried.
Family, what was the family's reaction to all of a sudden these little green leafy things on their food? Did they say, "Oh," or did they say, "Oh, this is really cool"?
They were pretty supportive. There was a couple of jokes at first, but when they tried it, and then they were like, "Oh wait, this is like gourmet stuff," like from the culinary aspect, it's tasty, it's fancy, A lot of restaurants use it as garnishes and such. And then there's that health aspect, right? And then there's a third aspect of it, right? There's a sustainability, right? Environmental. And there's a double-edged sword on that. We can get into that later if you want. But so I look at it as, nutrition, health, taste, and then there's like environment. So those are the 3 points that that are at least in my head right now. That's how I think about what I do in regards to microgreens. Those are the things that I try to focus on, and because I kind of can't help it, I get obsessed with whatever I start, and then those are like 3 really cool things to me, So
I never thought about it, the sustainability aspect of, of course, growing your own food. I enjoy gardening and, I've done some sprouting. I haven't not done personally some microgreens, but you're always inspiring me to do so. But yeah, if you want to share a little bit about what you mean on the sustainability aspect of growing the microgreens.
yeah. So I think one of the things that people use to measure sustainability is like carbon footprint, right? That's the one thing that we hear about. And carbon footprint is, the amount of energy or production, and they use carbon as a measurement of how much carbon you're using for fuel or energy. And but there's also the environmental impact on what you're doing too, that's outside of carbon, right? Like, so if you're putting a lot of fertilizer or synthetic nutrients into soil, or growing a lot of food and not replenishing it in a healthy and natural way, you're going to be affecting your land if you're growing outside, right? So the reusability of and regeneration of resources. Also, water is a big deal. How much water you use, and how are you affecting, if water runoff, there's chemicals that you're going to find a lot of growers use in big agriculture, atrazine and a lot of things that run off into water, and it can't be super healthy for the environment, or even us. We're eating this, and so what I mean by microgreens and sustainability is, one, you can now, it's not guaranteed, right? You can do stuff with microgreens and still hurt the environment and have an impact. For example, you're using electricity, for example, right? I use electricity. So a matter of fact, I got the ComEd bill last month, and they said, "Congratulations, Steve Leinweber, you are the highest electric user on your block. Here, give us $600." Like, wow. And but there's things that I do that, part of that, it was like 5 something, right? Part of it is air conditioning for the house, and for everything else. And then a few $100s go into the microgreen lights and the air conditioning unit and ventilation system. And so I have a carbon footprint there. I'm not growing this outside. I'm not using sunlight, right? I'm not there are things that I could do to make my business, my production of microgreens, more sustainable. But I also have a climate that is called Chicago, and I need something predictable. I need something that I can measure, control, and so. But as an IT person, I actually am measuring the amount of electricity and thinking about ways that I could reduce it. For example, using electric off peak time helps. So people don't have their air conditioning turned off because during the midday, because I use too much electricity, right? But then there's things to think about in terms of, how you're going to provide nutrients to your plants that have an impact. And I mentioned synthetic nutrients. A lot of, there's with microgreens, you never want to use anything like that. You're going to be eating it in concentration. So I use something called ocean solution. They're nutrients derived from deep ocean water, a lot of trace nutrients and macronutrients in it. However, now that doesn't come to my door for free, right? So there's a sustainability aspect of, going in and doing the deep water collection and processing, and then the transportation of that to my home, right? But then there's things like, how are you going to package your microgreens? And Janet, you've seen my packaging. It's I use something. There's only one company that I know of right now that does this. They're called Good Natured products, and they have a plant-based plastic container that I just love. It's 99% compostable. I only use Good Natured products. And so in terms of environmental impact, I'm not leaving, in my wake a bunch of plastic that's going to be here forever, right? The plastic I use will decompose. And but this company's in Canada, and so they have to transport this to me. Is it going by train, plane, truck? There's fuel involved, right? So in terms of sustainability, maybe I can knock things down a little bit and order in bulk, right? And so there's one trip involved, and there's a lot to think about. This is, it's another rabbit hole to go down, but that's why I include it, because it's important to me. And as I grow my business, I want to continue to think about, how I'm impacting the environment, even if I'm doing something that is more sustainable than, big agriculture is doing. There's always room to improve. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I go off in a tangent. Sometimes I just go, stop, Steve.
It's very, I knew your packaging, you had explained it to me, was, compostable, which I thought was very unique because it looks plastic. It's a clear plastic, but it's a different, you found the source. Hopefully maybe you'll find somebody a little closer. But it seems like they last for about 10 days when I buy them from you. I try to eat them as much as I can, but then I forget sometimes, like any produce, they're in your drawer and it's like, oh, I forgot about these, but then I'll just blend them in a smoothie or make put some basil, add the leftover microgreens in like a pesto, which is really good with some garlic, and it adds that intense flavor with all the nutrients. This morning, I actually had avocado toast with my fresh tomato with microgreens on top, and it was so good. And so just, if you have hummus as a snack, you could sprinkle your microgreens. The very first time when I started eating plant-based, like you said, it's gourmet. I went to a restaurant. I ordered a little soup because it was vegan, and there was these little things on there, and I'm like, what are these? I really never saw them before. And I said, what are these little tiny things? And they were pea shoots. And they said, oh, those are microgreens. I had to Google it. So that was before you were at the farmer's market, and before I really knew anything about them. So we all grow and research, and now I usually love, trying the different varieties because, the broccoli in itself is very anti-cancer. And it has the sulforaphane as far as other types of cruciferous vegetables. The radish and the kale would also have that same property, but broccoli is known to have more intense of the anti-cancer fighting nutrients. And they are powerhouses. They're, some people call them the superfoods. I think if people that are watching this, either live now or on the replay, if you haven't tried the microgreens, get some while your area farmers markets are still around before they close around Chicago, our area, they close usually mid-October.
Mhm.
And I think almost all the farmers markets have at least one microgreen vendor at this point, which is really great. I think they're healthier when you get them at the farmers market versus the grocery store. But you could add them to salads, you could add them to soups, you could blend them, like I had said. And I did found a few links that we're gonna put in the recording. So anyone watching it, once we put it on YouTube, the PBNM YouTube channel, in the notes, if you hit more once or twice to get the show notes, I'll have some links in there, some recipes, recipe ideas, and the actual nutrient value of the various types of common microgreens. I did a little research. It seems like there's about 100 different microgreens people could grow, but Steve, would you say most people that are selling them have what, maybe about 10 or 12 different varieties that seem to work best?
Yeah, there's everybody kind of has the broccoli, the radish, the pea shoots, the arugula, cilantro, and so forth. A lot of folks have sunflower, which is super healthy for you. And then I think everybody has like their favorite, like one-off one. Mine is cantaloupe.
Yes.
I love cantaloupe microgreens. They have a sweet flavor. They're a fruit, right? But a lot of these are vegetable microgreens, but I call it my summertime crop. But I grow it year round, and it's kind of your dessert microgreen. You know, a garnish, nice little sweet garnish for dessert. And yeah, good for smoothies and such. But yeah, you get
Yeah, I
about
have
10
to jump
different
in
varieties.
here.
Yeah.
I got the chance to try some of your microgreens at a veggie fest that Janet and I went to, and you had the cantaloupe variety.
Okay.
And I had never even realized that you could grow
Mhm.
cantaloupe microgreens. And the minute I tasted it, it was like, it tastes exactly like cantaloupe
Exactly.
in like a plant, like, little green plant form. It was like, it blew
Mhm.
my mind. I had no idea that that was even possible
Oh
to
yeah.
grow that kind of a variety, but my cantaloupes have seeds, so why wouldn't it? But I think, kind of going along the same lines of what you've been sharing and what Janet's been sharing, yes, nutrition is a huge part of why you would want to eat microgreens. And also they're fun.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many different flavors and varieties that why not try something as fun as cantaloupe? Like, just try different varieties and flavors and try them in different ways. Put them in different dishes, and it's fun. It's fun. And not only is it nutritious, but you get some experimentation in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, the two options are you can grow these yourself. So
Yes.
you can have them year round. There's kind of a pro and con, right, of doing it yourself or finding an experienced microgreen grower. Um, the growing yourself is a nice educational thing. It's also a lot of people are not able, their head is not in the space of like, I can grow food.
Mhm.
And a lot of urban environments don't allow for us to grow a lot of food outside, and then climate's a factor. Microgreens, it takes about 14 days for most crops. For broccoli, it's going to be 14 days. Radish, 9 days. And it's a fun thing to experiment with, and to know that you have something that you're controlling. What the soil is, what nutrients you're providing, the quality of the seed, and you're getting this really fresh, organic, healthy food that you are producing yourself. A little independence with that. Now, a guy like me, or gals that do this as well, anyone can do it. Even a nerd like me. um, Basically, when you find a microgreen grower, they take the work out of it for you, right? And they can grow a lot of different varieties. Doesn't mean you don't have to grow your own, but you might also reach out to someone like me for cilantro, or, maybe you want the cantaloupe, but are just starting off with broccoli right now. A lot of us do. We do it like as a subscription service, and we'll deliver to your door. And so even in the winter, when the produce is kind of yucky, and who knows where it's coming from and what's in it and where it's been, um, and who's been visiting it at nighttime, little creatures. um, a lot of us just grow indoor, right? But I would encourage you to, wherever you're at, there's probably a farmer's market. Go and talk to the microgreen farmer and ask them questions about, how they grow the food. And I think more often than not, you're going to find very passionate people who have a lot of information, and they're just excited about it. And they may even share some tips. And actually, I can share a couple pro tips with you guys if you want to know some cool secrets to make your microgreens last longer.
Yeah, that would be
We
great.
would love that.
Okay. So from the farmer's market perspective, I always tell people I have 3 secrets on why my microgreens last as long as they do. and why they stay fresh in your refrigerator as long as they do. Well, the one thing, I mean, they're going to be freshest the day you cut them, right? So if there's something about eating food that was just harvested, just cut, it's alive, and there's something super I don't know. I was going to say natural, but it's not. It's supernatural. Something else. It's living food, and your body does something. There's a living food exchange, some energy thing. I don't want to go woo woo, but there's something cool about it, right? You really can experience the difference when you eat it fresh. So the first thing is, eat it as fresh as possible would be one thing. Okay, but here are the 2 things that you're not going to hear unless you talk to a microgreen farmer, and if they're willing to share. So when you cut or harvest your microgreens, right, you're cutting them above the soil line, right? When you do that, don't use scissors, folks. Do not use scissors. When you pinch the stem, you're creating some cellular damage in the plant. The plant reacts by emitting a hormone. That hormone says, don't worry about the leaf anymore. Worry about the root. Okay. You don't want that in your microgreens because you're going to keep them for a while. You want to eat those leaves, right? You're going to put them in the fridge. And so if you cut them with scissors, you're going to often release that hormone in the plant. They won't last as long. That's been my experience. So use a very sharp produce knife. Okay. And wear some protective gloves, by the way. I found that out the hard way. Nothing about missing a market because you cut your finger deep. That's happened to me. You got to put everything away, and we're not going to market today. Wear gloves if you use a sharp knife. Okay. But cut with a sharp knife. It's like, think of yourself as a samurai, and you're just like cutting it. They don't even know that they've been cut. Okay. And so they last longer. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, and now I've proven this to myself. I might get some people who say that's not true, Steve, but it is, in my opinion, because I've actually measured and weighed this. On the bottom of plant leaves are little pores called stomata. They're responsible for plant transpiration, right? We have respiration, plants have transpiration. Well, nature is so intertwined that the plant and animal kingdom are connected, and birds chirping in the morning and birds chirping in the evening emit a sound frequency that signals to the plant that now the air quality is such that if you were to increase transpiration, you'll be healthier. At least that's how I think of it. And so I actually started playing bird sounds in we grow in tents, inside of grow tents. And but we threw Alexa in there, and Alexa has a cool feature. You can tell it at sunset, do this, at sunrise, do that. So I told it, do bird chirping, and my wife's like, stop that, turn that off. It's driving me crazy. But classical music, there's a lot of the same frequency, like a 432 megahertz thing. And so we do 3 hours of Mozart in the morning and 2 hours of Beethoven at night inside of the tents. And I'm absolutely serious about this. And so
you never told me this.
No, because I just started doing it I've been doing it for a year.
Oh, wow.
But so yeah, so kind of like at the end of the last farmer market season, I started doing it for a few months. And so when I go to harvest, I weigh my product, right? Because I'm selling it by the ounce. And I've noticed that it goes up to 20% more volume or weight when I play the music. And they last longer in the refrigerator. And I believe that's because the transpiration is a little deeper, it's stimulated, right? So if you can play music, and I got the idea from Mythbusters, by the way. Okay. So Mythbusters did an episode. They actually did this, and they found that heavy metal worked really well. But I don't know if their experiment seemed a little skewed to have that result. But music does change. They say talk to your plants. You know,
I've heard that.
have you ever talked to them? Because if
My
they answer
dog.
back, that's a problem. but you can definitely play music and try it out, even with your house plants. It'd be kind of interesting to see. I From what I've seen, this is my evidence, right? They weigh more and they last longer when I do this.
That is crazy and amazing all at once, I gotta say.
Thank you. That's what they're going to put on my gravestone. Crazy and amazing.
You have to put that on somewhere on your table. These plants have been listening to Mozart then.
I do. I tell people that all the time at the market now. And they ask me, because you said 10 days, you'd be surprised. They're going to last longer now, Janet. People are coming up to me and going, these last 2 weeks. I'm like, I know, but I'm not, it's under promise, over deliver. Right. So I only tell people a week and a half.
Wow.
But, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Is there anyone listening? You have any questions in the chat? Feel free to type up some questions if you've ever had some microgreens at your farmer's market. Let us know what kind that you've tried and maybe how you enjoy them. And if you have been inspired to go ahead and purchase a kit and start something this winter after the harvest season is done where you live, let us know, because we like to know that we're effectively inspiring people here on our podcast. And we also at PBNM, we have a 6 million seeds initiative project. And Carrie, could you just share what the 6 million seeds acronym is? And then maybe we could share a little bit about how this is a great project for kids.
Yeah, so the 6 million seeds, the SEEDS word is an acronym. So students educated in environment, diet, and sustainability. So basically trying to share the importance of kids eating healthier food, and in so many different ways. One of the ways that we do this is going into schools and doing little demonstrations and education with the kids, and showing them how to prepare different types of food, and how nutritious and how tasty it can be. We also have gone to local scouting events. One in particular, I think it was earlier this year, we took some of the broccoli microgreens, and we did a really interesting well, I guess you can't really call it an activity because they were already grown, but we brought little broccoli seeds, and then we brought the broccoli microgreens, and then we brought an actual head of broccoli, and we showed them the 3 different stages, and described okay, well, this is the seed, and if you wait so many days, this will get you the microgreens, and then if you wait so many days, that'll get you the big broccoli. And it was amazing to see the kids' faces light up, and they're like, oh my gosh, I could have these in 7 days, or, I don't even know. Broccoli might even take less than that, but just um, getting a chance to share with kids that they can grow their own food and that it's delicious, it's good for you, it's good for the environment. So that's pretty much the whole purpose of the 6 million seeds, is to get kids eating more fruits and vegetables, and to make it fun. So we look for those opportunities at any point. But the last activity with the microgreens was pretty fun for, I would say, everyone involved.
And the leaders thought it would be a great project to do sprouts at camp, because it was usually only 5 days and they could, get some sprouts going in jars. But if there's any teachers watching or parents that want to get their kids to eat more healthy food, it's a great idea to have them watch it grow. It would be a great classroom idea, pretty easy to do too, economical and easy and educational. And we always need to educate the kids to eat healthier food. And
Yeah.
and while we're talking about it, Carrie and Meryl with PVNM, they have 24 episodes of a podcast for 6 million seeds, and those are all on our YouTube channel. So for anyone that is interested listening and has children, would like to learn more about plant-based nutrition, 24 isn't it about 24 episodes you had?
I think we have upwards of 40 actually.
40. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All on children's nutrition?
Yeah,
I
well, they're not necessarily all, well, yes, they incorporate child nutrition in some form, all of the episodes.
Yeah, so
So,
there's pediatricians, dietitians, nurses, parents, all different health professionals, as well as families cooking demos and children even with their parents cooking different things. So we like to get the family involved and not just be selfish and eat healthy ourselves, but we need to get other people, especially the younger generation. And I know Steve, you mentioned you have family. I'm sure your uh, people, family, children, relatives around your household like to watch your microgreens and eat them. How would you suggest you get started with maybe someone that's new to eating vegetables? So many people say, "Oh, I don't like vegetables. I don't eat vegetables." What do you think are some ways that you found in your experience can ease people into eating microgreens and getting them into that flavor profile of their, in their
Well,
mouth?
that's a great question. I often get that at the farmer's market. It's usually the husband of a couple, and he's usually a big guy with a big beer gut, And I don't eat vegetables. Like I thinking I can tell. But you still have, and I explain nicely, okay, but you still have a human body that you're in, and it does require the nutrients that everybody does. We all have to eat healthy, even if we don't want to, or even if we don't, we should. And what a great way to do it with microgreens. You don't have to eat a lot. You don't have to like fill your plate up with asparagus or Brussels sprouts, right? You can just simply throw some on top of your sandwich and pretend it's lettuce. And you'll actually be getting a lot of nutrients. And I'll tell you what happens with the palate is when your body starts getting nutrition that it needs, you start to crave it. And so microgreens is a great way to get some of these nutrients into your body. And so maybe, you know, put on a different thought process. And I think some folks who are like, I don't eat vegetables, it's like a badge of honor. And you're not going to really sway, the diehards out there. And by diehard, I don't mean that they're going to like die real hard because they are unhealthy. Yeah, I do. But the people who are just like, it's a badge of honor. They're not going to be converted. But if you know you need to eat healthier and you know you have an aversion to it, and you know that convenience is, you know, always whispering in your ear, just go to McDonald's. Okay. Well, get some microgreens and take that Big Mac if you have to. I mean, if that's your thing, put some microgreens on it. I'm not saying that's going to make it okay, but you're going to be getting some nutrients at least. And then just follow your body, listen to your body. After that, you'll start to crave it, and especially kids, like parents. If you're struggling to figure out how to get like nutrients that are important for your child's development from brain to body, uh, introduce some microgreens into their diet. Again, at a young age, their body's going to go, and they're going to start craving this stuff. And it doesn't take a lot of work. You don't have to steam the broccoli, right? You just eat it raw. You take a pinch and garnish your meal. I would say it's important. Don't pretend that you're invincible. You're a human being. You have a biology that requires nutrition, and I get it. It's difficult. We have fast-paced lives, and we have habits, and but you can get some microgreens. You can grow some microgreens, and it's fun. And you can start including just a little bit in your diet. And I think that would be a great way to start.
Yeah, and also too, when you're encouraging kids to eat them, the fact that they can see them from, the beginning stage, if they're growing them themselves, I think that kind of gets them to buy in more, and they can see the whole process. They grew it themselves. They'll be more interested to try it, even if they're not the most adventurous of eaters. I think being able to grow it themselves will get them more interested in trying it at least. And like you said, once they start trying it, then maybe they'll become more used to it. Their bodies will start craving it, and just, snowballs from there.
Right. It's getting them familiar with it is key. We I'm doing something that I think you guys will find interesting because it aligns with the seeds mission. So when kind of goes back to sustainability, right? So when I harvest my microgreens, I'm left over with a tray of roots and soil, right? Because we're not serving that. But who loves that are chickens. Okay.
Wow.
And so I have a partnership that just started with an elementary school near me. They have a farm club. And so the children are learning about growing food, and they have 7 chickens, right? So the chickens are laying eggs, and all my vegan friends are mad at me right now, but hear me out. um, the children are being introduced to a more caring, loving, way of dealing with the chickens for one, right? And they're just fascinated by them, right? And then what I do is every week I come by with, what I would compost or would have thrown out, and instead I give it to the chickens, who go crazy over it. And the kids are very interested in that. It's kind of fun to watch the chickens peck away and do their little thing, and then they're happier, right? And you compare that to factory farming. Getting the children involved at an early age gives them a little bit of a mindset of what's going on with your food, getting them involved in it, and then it opens the conversation to why are they eating these microgreens? They're super nutritious. You're going to have better, healthier eggs. The chickens are happy, and by the way, these are good for you too. Oh, I want to try it. Well, maybe you guys want to grow some and feed it to the chickens first. So little steps along the way. I love that you're involved at the child level, because the guy who says I'm not going to eat vegetables as a badge of honor, it's too late for. But children, that their minds are going to be healthier, their bodies are going to be healthier, and they're going to contribute a lot of that back to the community as they get older.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And I mean, the
fortunately,
goal, to get them introduced to these foods from the beginning. So then maybe they don't get to that age and they say they hate eating, fruits and vegetables. They don't eat fruits and vegetables. Getting them exposed to them at an early age will hopefully allow them to develop a taste for them.
Mhm.
You know, not every kid is going to like every single fruit and vegetable. So you kind of figure out ones that they prefer, and maybe one, you know, others take a while for them to kind of get on board with. But
Mhm.
um, getting these exposed to them at an earlier age will only do, you know, do more good. It's healthier for them. It's healthier for the environment. It's beneficial all the way around. So
Right.
I'm happy to hear that you're doing that with children as well, and being, yeah, having more sustainable process by using the roots in the
Yep.
soil.
Yep. And parents, you don't cook microgreens. You don't have to worry
Yes,
about prepping it. You just take a pinch and throw it on the food. You know, it's as easy as that. I mean,
yes,
feed them something good though, other than the microgreens.
And
exactly.
kids model what parents do. So if parents are eating healthy greens and salads and with tomatoes and microgreens in a bowl and with their soups and carrots and hummus dip and, instead of candy and things out of bags and boxes with all the chemicals, then the kids will, model and want to try whatever mom and dad's eating or the older brothers and sisters. We've gone into summer camps also, and peer pressure when I was really shocked at one of the students, several of them. They were about first, second grade. Some of them never had a strawberry. They like looked at a strawberry, did not know they never had a strawberry. I was shocked. And we had magnifying glasses. That would be cool to, kind of look at the microgreens as they're growing. And it was an experiment to look at the seeds outside the strawberry because it's the only fruit with seeds outside.
Hmm.
And we're looking at it with with a magnifying glass. And some of them were brave enough to eat it that they didn't never had a real strawberry before. And other ones were like, I'll have yours. You don't want it, I'll have it. I like it. I love these. And then they were like, you do? And then they were like, okay, if you like it, I'll like it. I'll try it. So it was that camaraderie of the kids that loved it. Luckily, there was a few in the class, and then the ones that never had it, and the synergy of them working together. So it's great to bring things like this into the classroom for the teachers or moms, possibly our homeschool moms or dads that are homeschooling or doing activities like scouting and cooking classes with their children. But we have a question in the chat. Do you deliver to the northwest suburbs of Chicago? What's your territory for your delivery, Steve?
I have about a 3 mile radius right now on the southwest side of Chicago. I'm pretty far southwest. I'm in a neighborhood called Mount Greenwood. It's it's by Evergreen Park, Oak Lawn. So it's pretty far southwest. I do not at the moment deliver to the northwest suburbs, but I can and will find you somebody near you that is reputable and good microgreen grower, and I can get you that information. Can I can I give them my email address if they
Oh,
want to?
sure. Yeah.
Um,
We
it's
can put that in the chat too. I mean, in the
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
notes, we'll put that, but you can give it to them now.
yeah. It's simple.
Mhm.
It's Steve at beelinemicrogreens.com. Yep, that's how you get a hold of me. So if you send me that, I'll have your email and I'll reply back to you with information. I just want to do a little check-in to see who's out by you. What, and also include what suburb, which of the Northwest. I think they may be from Des Plaines, if my memory serves right.
There
But
was someone that said she was from Des Plaines, but I'm not sure.
yeah, Susan, let me know. Anybody on the call, just let me know, and I'll hook you up.
Are there microgreens meetups and get-togethers where microgreen growers hang out to like share notes and things, or are they very competitive and they keep everything to themselves?
That's a good question. The philosophy that I've seen, I haven't really gone to anybody like locally and asked, but on the YouTube, on the online community, Arlington Heights and Carroll is from Des Plaines. All right, guys, send me an email. I saw that in the chat, and I'll get you information on that. But as far as like camaraderie goes, online there's a lot of camaraderie, but they're also an option to kind of join their little thing and learn more, go to their online class type of thing. So it might be coming from that. Locally, it's interesting. I've had people call me and I freely share what I do. And the way I look at it, the more successful you get the microgreen message out there, right? I can't serve everybody. I can serve the Southwest, side. Um, that's where I met you, Janet, and I do my best with my local geography. But I don't know if everybody has the same philosophy about it. I think was it a rising tide or lifts all ships or something? You know.
Yeah, that's what PBNM is all about, plant-based nutrition movement. We were founded on the original principles of going into communities, having potlucks monthly to have a supportive, network where you could go, because when we decide to go plant-based or eat healthier, add some vegan plant-based meals, whether we're just starting out and we have the questions that you don't want to ask people, because it's like, how do you pronounce quinoa? And how do you make it? And all those crazy, like, what's miso? And I had to Google all that stuff. And what's tamari and tahini and all these what's nutritional yeast? And but you get to try different things. We have potlucks around our area, and there's such a network called Building Healthy Communities now. It's with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and they have a map nationwide. So if you're looking for a local group, because we have some people out of state, you could go on the pcrm.org website and find a Building Healthy Community leader in your area. And you may find a microgreen grower or someone that is connected at the farmer's market, and be able to try some new things, and kind of find a meetup group in your area to support each other, or start one on your own. If you're plant-based and you don't know anyone, it's a good way to build a community, because it's hard to eat healthy in the world that we're in, when 95% of the restaurants have non-vegan or non-plant-based foods on their menu. But a lot of the gourmet ones do have those microgreens, scattered on the plate. And when you go to California in certain states, they are very, I guess, more on a healthier frame of mind than we are here in the Midwest, especially in Chicago area. It's hard to find healthier choices out. So that's why we teach people how to cook inside and how to grow your own food inside with the microgreens and sprouting. So as far as Steve, just to kind of close everything up, if there's any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat for any of us about the programs that we're doing. But we have some notes here: cost versus profit, the logistics for getting started, which I think you mentioned pretty much of it. And some of the claims, it's, not a passive income. You really have to work. You have to go to the farm. You're going to 3 farmers markets.
Yeah.
So if you want, in closing, make any comments on that and share with us your experience.
Well, it certainly isn't a passive income. There's a lot of work involved. I made a mistake the other day. I calculated how many hours I work a week. So I have my day job and I have my business, right? Like 95 hours. And my daughter goes, "That's why you don't go anywhere, do anything." But I am doing stuff. I'm doing, growing a business. It's a lot of work. And as far as profit goes, the first few years, if you're growing a business and if you want to take it to the next level, you reinvest in the company. So, don't expect a windfall if you want to grow your company. But if you want to get out there and make a few dollars and have it, have something for yourself, that's great. The hardest part wasn't growing for me. The hardest part was the business aspect, food safety, getting all those, check boxes. All of that is a bigger discussion. And if folks are ever interested in uh, learning about that, especially in Cook County, you can reach out to me. I'll share my experience with it, what you need to do. And again, the more of us out there growing microgreens, the more awareness we create. And the more people will start looking for microgreens. So I don't look at this as competition by any means. I look at it as kind of helping me too, if you're out there. So
Yeah,
You're right, building the awareness.
mhm.
Great.
perfect.
Mhm.
Well, so Janet, I guess in the last maybe few minutes, I know you researched and have some information on nutrition and recipes. Do you maybe want to share some of the recipe ideas that you found?
Well, I'm going to put some of these links in the chat for
Mhm.
everyone. But what I found, let me get to my notes here. Um, oh, there is there's just a few amazing recipes that are so creative. Let me find bluecart.com. And let's see. They're nutritious. There's antioxidants. They guard against inflammation. There are studies that microgreens, how they reverse chronic diseases. They boost the immune system. They aid in digestion and a healthier gut. They actually are filling, so they are basically 0 calories, would you
Mhm.
say? And they're good for weight management because you're getting the nutrients. When your body's getting the nutrients that it needs, you will have less cravings, like we talked before. We're hungry. Sometimes we're always hungry when we're eating fast food and food that is lacking in the nutrients because your body is craving more of those nutrients. But when you eat the nutrient-dense foods, you get fuller and satisfied faster. You could incorporate them. We talked about your salads as a garnish, blend them into smoothies, sauces, put them into like a if you're doing a tofu scramble, you could put them in a burrito. You could put them in salsa and guacamole. You can it's really endless. They could be blended, and as we had said, you don't want to cook them or heat them. You want to eat them raw.
Mhm.
You can add them to a green smoothie, which would be really nutritious. And when you blend them in a smoothie, they really don't have a lot of flavor. They're more of a mild flavor. So you're getting all that nutrients in a green smoothie. And if you don't like green smoothies, put them in a chocolate smoothie and you won't even see them. Put some cocoa and banana and peanut butter, add some broccoli sprouts or broccoli microgreens in it. And kids will think it's kids and adults that don't like any the flavor of the vegetables, they'll be getting the nutrients as well. But I have a few links that I'll add more of those details. And it's good to even put into a salad dressing when you
Mhm.
blend it. Talked about oregano and basil. That would be awesome in
Mhm.
a pesto because oregano is one of the highest nutrient dense herbs. And I would think parsley and cilantro also that would be great with a salsa or a guacamole type dip. So those are just some of the basic ideas how I use them, and pretty much add them in anything.
Great.
Did-
I also want to throw this out there. On beelinemicrogreens.com, I have to do this. We have a little
No,
recipes section.
oh, you do?
Yeah,
Good.
and my daughter, she's a nurse, and she's like making stuff all the time. And I asked her, I'm like, will you please put together some recipes? She's like, absolutely. And so she's adding recipes out there all the time. You got like 10 or 12 right now, and it just kind of is building. But if you want to check out what we got as far as recipes, we have some info there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I didn't know you had recipes on your website, and yeah, that would be perfect.
Oh yeah, we have these are from the mind of my daughter.
Oh,
And
well,
but her
get it.
mind's way better than mine. So, and she's a nurse. So
He knows the
Perfect.
nutrition end of it then. Well, thanks so much for your time, Steve. I really appreciate seeing you on Saturdays when I'm at the farmer's market and stocking up, and value everybody's time is so valuable, but we have recorded this and you could share it with your followers, and hopefully they'll learn a little more about your history. Is there anything in closing that you wanted to finalize and close our show with?
yeah, thank you so much, everybody who took time out to hear me talk about what I'm doing and about the microgreens. I'm a little bit passionate about. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I hope you go on your own microgreen journey. If you grow your own and you run into questions, you can reach out to me, Steve at beelinemicrogreens.com. Shoot me a message. I'm always here to answer questions. I love to nerd out to this. And then and even if you get to the point where you're like, maybe I'll try a market, reach out to me. I'll show you what to look for and what to do. And you're gonna have to run your own show, but I'll give you some tips, some pitfalls that I went through. I think nobody has to go through. I'm so happy to share that with you.
Thanks.
Perfect.
It's very generous of you to be able to mentor anyone who wants to grow their own or possibly start a business as you did.
Yes, sounds great. So thank you so much again, Steve and Janet, for sharing all of your the wealth of information and all of the nutrition information and recipes. I don't see any further questions in the chat, so we will wrap things up, I guess. But before we say goodbye for tonight, I wanted to tell you a little bit about our program or our event for next month. It will be, our guest speaker will be Velyn Hawkins, and she's going to be sharing her plant-based story with us. And we're also going to be sharing some of our favorite kitchen gadgets. So be sure to tune in. I'm sure it will be a fun conversation. The date for that event is going to be Tuesday, the 15th of October. Also, be sure to check out our website or sign up for a newsletter to get information about any upcoming events that we have. And that will also direct you to where to register for all of the events. So be sure to join us again next month and bring a friend.
Absolutely. And just next Wednesday, there will be a Let's Beat Breast Cancer rally.
Yes.
In Naperville at the Riverwalk at the Freedom Pavilion. It's at 6, it'll end at 7. We're gonna have some drum lines. They were fabulous. I had hosted one in Tinley Park 2 weeks ago, so you don't want to miss it. It's if you're in the Naperville area, come on out. Get there early. It'll start sharply at 6 and end at 7. It's again at the Naperville Riverwalk at the Freedom. It's right across from the library in downtown Naperville. And it's called the Let's Beat Breast Cancer campaign. It's sponsored by PCRM. And if you can't be there, just go to the website, type in Let's Beat Breast Cancer.org, and you'll get a free cookbook, ebook, and ways to prevent breast cancer, basically, and other cancers and heart disease. It all kind of goes. It's all the same diet, but specific foods, and I'm sure microgreens are. As broccoli is one of them, and microgreens are very powerful for an anti-cancer type of food. So hopefully we will see people there. I'll be there, and Sharmila and a few of our other board members will be there. That's all I wanted to add before we end. So we'll see you then.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.